Good evening for the November 21st, 2024 meeting of the Tehachapi Unified School District's Governing Board. It is 6:02 and roll call, Ms. Barnes.
President Kaminsky,
Here.
Vice President Kelly,
Here.
Clerk Wood. Here. Trustee Cooper,
Here.
Trustee Napier,
Here.
Trustee Sweeney, absent. Superintendent Larson Everson,
Present.
and I'm Deanna Barnes.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Next item is flag salute and a moment of silent reflection. Everybody please stand. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
A motion. Kelly, a second.
It's motion by Trustee Cooper, seconded by Vice President Kelly to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 3, superintendent search process. Dr. Cavazos.
There you go. I'm going to just set it to the side for a minute. That's okay. Okay, that works. In your packet, you should have a folder that says at the top, initial meeting discussion items and a open session. So this is basically the agenda that we're going to follow and the items that we're going to be covering during my time with you this evening. You should also have in your packet a proposed timeline that looks like this. It's not highlighted as mine is, but if I'm going to start out by just reviewing the search process, and at any time, please stop and ask questions. Don't feel like you have to wait until the end. You can stop me along the way. So I want to start out by just reviewing what the process is like, and we can use the timeline kind of as a framework for that. So today, during our initial meeting, there's a number of things that we're going to do. One of the final items that we will cover with you is what is it that you desire in your next superintendent. So we're going to basically finish up with that. But we'll do that today. We're going to cover also set the dates for when you would like for us to meet with your partners, education partners, whether it's your staff, your bargaining unit officials, community members, whether it's city officials, students, et cetera. And so we'll talk about a date that we could do that. We're also going to then decide on what the dates are for an online survey. The online survey, since COVID, has become much more used by people because they can do it at any time, 24 hours a day, and it allows them to provide input. We have it in multiple languages as well, and so we'll talk about that in a bit, but we'll also discuss what that window would be, and we'll talk about how we get that information out to your partners. Then The reason that we're trying to do this before the winter break is because we will use that information to create a position description that you will review, you will approve before we post that out there. We also, the way that, if you recall, the reason that we wanted to advertise in December and then again in January is to be able to A, give people ample time to apply. Many of them can do that during their winter break. And also in January when people are searching. The prime search season, if you will, is generally January to March. That's when people are making a decision or have made a decision to retire or move on, et cetera. And so that really is peak season, probably the time that we are the busiest, although I can tell you we're pretty much busy year-round. People decide to go whenever. But typically, superintendents will want to give notice around this time in November, December, so that their board can begin preparing for the process in the spring. So then we will identify, once we know what it is that you and your education partners are looking for in a superintendent, and we have that position description, we will start identifying potential candidates and reaching out to them to encourage them to apply. Of course, then we'll have the advertisements in EdCal, which is the administrator's newsletter. And then we have a deadline. By that deadline, as soon as that deadline hits, then my partner Juan and I, who had a conflict with this date. He could meet yesterday, but he had a conflict with this date, but not a problem because this is something that we can do individually as well. But once that deadline comes, then we start contacting every single person that applies. We talk to every single individual that applies. And we start out and we do an interview of sorts. We want to know why it is that they're interested in this particular position, what their experience is, how well they match that position description in their opinion, et cetera. And so we get an idea of who they are and why, especially why it is that they want to fill this position. So we talk to each one of them. We also reach out to their references and speak to them. As long as they have given us authorization, and we also double check that with them when we talk to them. We also ask them, can we go kind of off the chart here and off your references and talk to others who are not your references? Most will say yes. Those that say no, it's usually because they don't want other people to know that they're applying for the position. But we usually get a lot of really good information, and we get that from our partners as well. And as you saw on our map, we're spread out all over California. So we will engage in that vetting process, and then tonight we'll set a date as to when we will come back and meet with you, and you will have access to every single application. We will give you an online portal where you can go in there and you can look at every application, their letters of recommendation, et cetera, before we meet. And then when we meet with you, we're going to tell you, based on what we saw from our interviews with them and based on what we heard from their references and non-references and information that we've gathered. We also search them online and on social media, et cetera. From all of that information, based on that, and a lot of times also based on their experience. Not everyone can walk into this position just from having taught or having been a principal. It takes special skills to be able to walk in and do the position, conduct the position of superintendent well. And so, we lay that out and we tell you, these from the candidates that applied, we think these are your Tier 1 candidates. These are the candidates that we would recommend for you to consider for interview. There are Tier 2 candidates that meet most of the criteria but that you have set, but maybe not all of the criteria. And then there are Tier 3 that really don't meet the majority of the criteria. There are times, I will tell you, that we have had level 1s that are just so competitive. There have been, we did a search recently that I think everyone in Tier 1 was a sitting superintendent, had superintendent experience. And so sometimes there are people that are still really good candidates, but they can't get into Tier 1 because the Tier 1 is so stacked with people that are very, very highly qualified. So that can happen. And then we do, because we talk to the candidates afterwards, and we do tell them, in another pool, you would probably get an interview. In this pool, it's just so stacked that, you can't interview everyone. And so that's what we try to give you, people that you should consider for interview, and then we kind of whittle it down to who you will actually bring in for an interview. And then once we do that, then we come in for an interview. The interview is, you pretty much can count on being here all day. It's an all-day event, but it is, I would say, probably the most important decision that you will make. Who your leadership is really the most important decision you will make, because it influences absolutely everything that goes on in the district. So, and we've proposed a date here, and we'll go over that shortly. And then once you make that decision on who the finalist is, because they're not the superintendent until they're officially appointed, once you make the decision on who the finalist is, then you can decide whether you want to go visit their district, or whether maybe you want to talk to some of their fellow board members from their district, or whether you also want maybe some of your administrators or teachers to talk to some of their teachers. There's just a wide array of ways that you can do a validation, either visit, or you can have them come here and meet with a number of different groups before they are actually officially appointed. So they don't become superintendent until they are officially appointed at a regular board meeting, and when you've approved their contract. So that's basically a quick overview of what the process is. So I just, any questions about that? Any questions about the process before I go on to the next item?
How many rounds of interviews are there?
Generally, just 2. But you also decide that. Just finished a search where the board all unanimously decided this is the candidate we want. And why do a second round when you already know that that's the person? We've had others where they've gone into a second round and then brought them back for a third round. That is not common, but it has happened before. Usually, you may interview 4 or 5 candidates and then decide, we want to bring these 2 or maybe 3 back if they're that close. And then in the second round, you ask different questions. You really go deeper. You ask them questions maybe about something that they said or an experience that that they've had, et cetera. You go deeper at that point. And then, we've had it where, okay, we've done a second round, and then we sent them back, and the board said, we just need to see them one more time. Okay, it's your search. As we said, the search starts and ends with you, so it's your search, and we follow your lead. So generally one additional round, a second round with your, usually it's top 2 candidates. Any other questions before we go on to the next item? So number 2, I'm going to assume, but I need to verify, the board's liaison with myself and my partner Juan, that will be your board president, am I correct, Mr. Kaminsky?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, it'll be the board president until we have elections for the next one, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So the board president, if that's,
Yeah.
that's what your desire is. Okay, great. And then I just want to make sure that, Deanna, you've received the guidelines, et cetera, from Linda on this. Great. And then the email addresses for the board are all online? Is that correct?
They are.
Okay, so so that we can communicate with the board. Then the next part is really looking at the dates on the timeline. If we're looking at, first of all, the online survey, do those dates work for you? We're proposing the 2nd through the 13th. So basically 2 weeks where people can go online and complete the survey. And keep in mind that we monitor how that's going, and we give you information such as at this time, so many people have responded, and the largest percentage is, whether it's parents or staff or whatever. We monitor that, and then if we feel like maybe it's a little bit low, then we may say, are you interested in extending that maybe another week or a few more days, and having the district send out a reminder to everyone, to all the parents and staff, that don't forget to do that survey. So do those 2 weeks as you look at those, and Deanna and Stacy, you can weigh in on those also, whether that might.
That sounds really great. Extending it if we have to, because, you just never know. It's the holidays. A few reminders and things like that would be, I think, really great.
Great, and we'll work directly with Deanna on that, and we'll be communicating with you. Yes?
What's the reduction week to week on responses?
It really drops. Generally, the first week, you get a really good response. Once people get that initial notification and the link, that's when we get the largest response. When a reminder is sent out, that probably is the second largest, and then it just really drops. Because obviously, if they were interested, they'd get on it. So we try to get that on. I don't know that we've measured it, but it really is that first week, and I would say probably the first 3 days are when we get the highest response. People are excited about the search. They want to weigh in and find the time. And especially we want to make sure it goes over a weekend so that people have the time, in the evening or maybe during the day on the weekend to be able to complete that.
So do we need to set the dates for the reminders now? How would that work?
Basically, what I would suggest is that we monitor it for that first week and maybe send out take a look at it, and we'll be communicating. We'll send you an email that goes out to all of you so that you all are kept up to date as we move along. And we'll do the same thing, I'll say, with once the application window closes, we'll let you know how many applicants we got, how many of them are sitting superintendents or have superintendent experience, how many of them are assistant superintendents, and how many of them are other. We'll give you that information as part of the process as well. So we'll keep you up to date, and that's why I was asking about email addresses, so that we can email you and let you know. And then if we feel that we're not really getting a response, then we'll also say, we're looking at sending a reminder, and then we'll just reach out to Deanna to see if we can send out a reminder through your Parent Square. Is that what you use? That's always a good way of getting that information out.
Okay, thank you.
also-
Hold on,
Oh,
if you don't
go
mind,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No.
I wouldn't mind doing or I would like you to consider December 2nd to December 16th, which is an extra weekend. Just because it is the holiday season, we are coming back from Thanksgiving. And I understand everything that you've shared, and I do appreciate it. And I'm sure there is a considerate drop-off I get that.
We have nothing to lose, honestly,
Yeah.
by setting it to go a little bit longer. We have nothing to lose.
For me, the value of extending it once we've already done it actually sets a bad taste, because, we're going to do this, but now we want to do it extra. So I think if we did a little bit of that in the beginning, I think it would offset any extension that we might consider. I do like the idea of another weekend because, as we all know, it is winter sports time, and it's Christmas shopping, and I just got over Thanksgiving, I'm sleeping from my turkey, right? All of that stuff. So I would just like. the
I'd
board to
like where
consider
you're
that.
going with that, just extend it now, then do it later on. I'm comfortable with that.
If the board agrees, right?
I think we have a consensus.
Great. We'll change that to the 16th. And then we would be conferring with your educational partners. Generally, with a district of this size, we would do that all in one day. One of us would come out and meet with groups that you feel, or maybe they feel they would like to meet in person. And then one of us would be online through Zoom and would be meeting with other groups. And sometimes it's the same group, so sometimes it might be that one of us would be available to meet with, let's say, certificated staff at a certain time. And then we may have another time where we can meet with certificated staff online, so that people have some options as well. Because often that would be, obviously after school, in the evening, and then we'll work with Deanna to work with those groups to make sure that we're able to get them in. And if a day does not work, we've scheduled alternative dates as well, kind of with those individual groups, just to make sure that it works and that we get their input. And when we meet with those groups, we will be asking them the exact same questions that I'm going to be asking you here this evening. So everybody will know it's the same 3 questions, and then we will be gathering that, just as I'm going to be doing this evening. I'm going to be typing your responses, and then we will put all of that together for you, and also for the new superintendent. So let's go ahead and take a look at who those partners might be for you. And you have a list. These are just here as prompts. They don't mean that these are the people that you necessarily want us, or groups that you want us to meet with. And there will be, I should say, groups that are not on this list that you will want me to add to the list. And what we'll do is then, as I mentioned, then through Deanna, thank you, we will reach out to them, because obviously if someone would receive an email from either Juan or myself asking for a meeting, they'd say, I don't even know who this person is. I'm not, I don't even pick up my phone if I don't recognize who's calling me. I don't recognize the number, I don't recognize the name, I don't pick it up. And it's no different with email. I'm not going to spend time going through something if I don't recognize who it is. But if they receive something from the Tehachapi Unified School District inviting them, then it's very likely that they will respond. And so we will set that up that way. So tonight, we're going to be asking you, I'm going to be asking you these questions, and so that'll take place tonight. Are there former board members that you would like us to reach out to and ask the same questions of them?
My comment on that would be they could, if they're interested, they could pick up on the general meetings that, if they're interested in, but unless you guys have other comments, but there's opportunity for them to fill out the survey as well as the general meetings.
Okay,
Yeah, I would agree. They can, since the Zoom's available of some of them, it wouldn't be a great number, I think, that would want to join, but if they can, like Trustee Napier said, kind of tag in and
great.
do the
Okay,
survey.
not a problem.
I agree. I know, I know, and still friends with several of them, and they're still very active, and I think that they would go online, and I don't think we need to single them out.
Okay, great, great. How about your current superintendent? Would you like for us to ask her the same questions? And get her input on,
Sure.
Yes, I would, definitely.
Great. okay. Cabinet members, so assistant superintendents, district office folks,
Definitely.
and they may be, we have district leadership reps, they may be in the same group, and again, we'll work with Deanna to group them. Some groups, we want them together, some groups, they will not benefit by being together because they have different interests, okay? Classified staff, including those at the district office.
Absolutely.
How about confidential staff? Would they also be in that classified staff, or would you like
I think
for
you
them
put
to
them
be
in with-
different?
It's kind of part of the cabinet, right? More.
Well, no, this is more like Deanna.
More like,
for
yes, maybe your HR secretary, maybe,
All right.
Stacy,
The
do you
chief.
have that total count off the top of your head?
I don't have the total count, but their jobs are really different than classified, so seems like a good idea to meet with them separately.
Yeah.
Okay. Works. And then obviously certificated staff.
Sure.
And then the Teachers Association, their executive board.
Yes.
And same thing for CSEA, their executive board, SEIU, if you have that.
Yes.
How about students? Would you like for us to meet with students?
I put a question mark on this one. Not that there's not value, I think there is. I think we may want to discuss not who, but what grade levels, or maybe it is all the ASBs. I don't
I
know.
would say coordinate with the leadership of the ASB groups at the schools, and if they have some students that they think could be beneficial, most kids are going to say, what's the superintendent? I mean, I have kids, I don't think they have a clue,
I would
so-
suggest to the site leadership that they pick kids that have been in listening circles that have
That's
done
what
in
I
the
was
past.
going to say,
Yeah.
that they have those
Kids that aren't afraid
established already.
to talk out in front of people they don't know, and you're not shy. We don't want any shy ones that don't want to say anything. 'Cause
Great. So we can work with the site leadership, with your principals, as far as how they would best like us to do that. We've
Right.
done where we've had a Zoom, they're in a room, we're on Zoom, and we ask them the same questions. And in one district, the students had nominated one person to, because they already have the questions, they were there in the room, but they nominated one person to be their spokesperson and to answer the questions. And then if we ask for clarification, another student might give some input. But we also had one district where they made sure, it's a high school district, and they made sure, it's it's a high school district, but they have junior high and high school, and they sent it out to all of their students, and we had a large student participation. Unfortunately, many of them just wanted to make sure they could keep their cell phones. That was a big thing, or not put them in a pouch.
On that, I do have a question.
Yes.
This survey won't be, doesn't have an 18-year-old limit or under or any of that, right? So any child, any student could actually do it if they wanted?
Yes,
Okay, thank
yes.
you.
It is available to anyone that goes online, and it's the same survey. We do ask them to identify basically whether they're a student, and we can actually call out that information as far as this is just student from students. This is for the entire group. This is just from students, so that you can have that information as well if you wish.
Excuse me, Blanca. Ms. Barnes, please note that trustee Sweeney came in just when she said 6:32.
Great. Thank you for being here. Okay. And then how about parent partners? You have a number of different parent groups. I know you have booster groups, et cetera. Are there specific groups that you would like for us to reach out to and meet separately? We can have a general parent meeting for any parent in the district, or we can meet with groups, different groups as well, boosters, or we can group them together.
I think there's tremendous value in a lot of these groups, the PTO, the Facility Advisory Committee, the boosters. There's a lot of these groups like that that are very integral. The Citizen Task Force, there's quite a few groups, some that have been nominated by the board, some that are just volunteering. I think there's value in getting them in the room together.
Okay.
And not just lumping them in with parents.
Okay.
That's my perspective.
I would agree.
Okay.
They do
Great.
volunteer a lot of time and energy and money, so I think allowing them their own standalone moment to talk with you would be fantastic.
Wonderful.
Actually, I would like to ask the board and yourself for clarification, because a lot of us fit in a lot of these groups. Are we only going to be board members only in number 1 on this section? I just want to be clear that I know I don't get to show up at every meeting because I think I want to. Are we just the board as a board, and we're not being in any other subgroups?
Good question.
The one thing that happens when you are in a group, and it also happens when, for example, administrators are in the group, people tend to clam up, and they're not going to be as forthright as they otherwise would be, just because they don't want to be disrespectful. And so we don't recommend for board members to join, for example, a Zoom. You can always, as a parent, complete the survey. The survey is different, and it's much more intensive. So would recommend that you do that if you're looking at giving input as a parent. But we really don't recommend you being or even administrators, for example, being in a parent group, just because they may not feel as free to speak. And it's not that you'll see what the questions are that we're going to ask you. It's the same questions. We're not trying to dig up dirt, but there are people that will take advantage of the opportunity to say what they think, and that's okay. That's okay. They can say what they think, but we will go back to staying on that topic and staying on those questions. And this is all information that will come back to you. There's nothing that we will hide from you, because there's no purpose in that. You need to know all of that information, as does the new superintendent.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
How about DLAC, or if you have a DLAC or ELAC? And then any service clubs or Chamber of Commerce or city representatives that you would like to make sure are included.
We have a very broad geographical area here. I think we should be including, at a minimum, inviting the local CSDs, the community service districts, so Golden Hills, Stallion Springs, Bear Valley. So we have bus routes through their communities, they have bus stops to their communities, at their facilities. Of course, the city. In addition to that, I think the Park and Recreation District here, the school district's a huge partner of theirs, and sharing facilities and things like that. So having them at the table is very important.
Okay, great, great.
I will suggest, I'll invite, if it's all right, or you can invite the Rotary Club. I'm past president 2 different
Excellent.
times. And I even asked we had a Rotary Board meeting Monday, and I asked, would you like someone from the search firm to talk to Rotary? The dates won't work out. The dates won't work out. Our speakers are booked, so. But I would definitely invite them. The Rotary does more than any other service organization. We do things for the kindergartners, the middle school students, and of course scholarships to the high school. We've supported the high school food bank, and we have we have an Interact club at Tehachapi High School. So.
Great, great. Definitely. We definitely want them at the table.
And I know we use our police department for quite a few things on campus, so I would think at a minimum, our chief, but at least
Yes.
the police department as a,
And the SRO, I think, as well, or just the chief, however he can work it out.
I would say
The
the
chief's a great
chief, yeah.
supporter.
Okay. Do you have an Ed Foundation or any other group like that that you would like invited? We also will host an open community forum where we ask the same questions, but anybody can attend, whether they have children in the district or not, because they might have had children in the district, or they're residents. They may not have children, but are residents. We'll make that available, and we will do one online and one in person so that people can participate in whichever one is most convenient for them. I will share with you that, and it's especially since COVID, the participation in person is usually very, very limited. Sometimes you can count them on one hand. I've had groups as small as one person. It isn't, because if you can come home from work and go on the computer and participate just as well and not have to get dressed and have dinner for everybody before you leave, et cetera, it's just convenience more than anything else. So I'm just giving you a heads up that that's what we've been finding throughout the state. All of the partners have found the same thing. It usually isn't a large group in person. We get more people online as well, but we
I have
will
a-
do both.
Maybe I'll get to it, but as far as advertising this process, maybe, I don't know if the intent would be to do press releases, maybe with the local newspaper. And there's a couple local newspapers we have here. We have 2 of them. I think using those resources, because again, if someone's not a parent, they may not be engaged
Right.
to see the Parent Square notifications. And then in addition to that, maybe utilizing the local government agencies such as Park and Recreation District, City of Tehachapi, the CSDs. You know, they do have some good social media reach with their PIOs to get the word out. Might just be a kind of a fairly free resource to use them to help
Okay.
spread the word.
And the newspaper, as I've been reading it, the Tehachapi newspaper, it's part of the Californian, every time I've read it has an article about the district. So I think that would be an easy one that maybe we could work together and just put a quick press release with a link so that they can access the survey, and then also with a link to your website so that they can go on there, they can know everything that they want to know about the superintendent search.
we also do have the Loop, which is, I think, the second one that that Trustee Napier is referring to, the Loop, L-O-O-P.
The loop, okay?
Did we say Saracosa?
We did not say Zaragoza.
Okay.
And I think that's a valid point.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other groups that we haven't talked about?
Superintendent Larson Everson does Sipping with the Soup,
Yes.
and some of you, Clerk Wood's probably been nearly every one. And when I'm there, it seems one parent group is overrepresented. And there was it wasn't a board meeting, but back when I was a principal, there was a public forum regarding the OCR,
Oh, yes. Mhm.
and they took that meeting over. And I know the lawyer was quite upset. So I don't know if we want to do that group or not. I'd like the superintendent's opinion on this one as well.
I think that they'll probably attend with the general population meetings, but in my opinion, it may be beneficial to have a separate group meeting with that group of parents, inviting them, and calling them out.
Okay, and I'll, again,
And that would be the special ed parents.
okay.
May I make a suggestion? TUSD also has a Facebook and an Instagram page. Would we be allowed to put the notices on those social media pages?
Sure.
Great. So we know the groups that we will be reaching out to. We've done that. And then, as I mentioned, once we gather all of this information, both the information that we've taken from the community input and also the information that comes from the survey, we will create a draft of a position description based on those characteristics that overall people said that they would like to see in the superintendent. And then we will make that available on our website. We will also give you a link for your website so that all that information is on there, including a salary range. When we get to that point, you may want to start thinking about that now so that maybe you can have a discussion before we are ready to put out that position description as to what you think that salary range should be for the new superintendent. And we will send you by email, we will send it to all of you, a copy of that draft so that you can then respond and mention any changes that you think that you might want to see on there. Whatever the majority decides, the changes that the majority decides they would like to see, then we will make those changes. And then we've already talked about the survey dates, but any languages other than English that you would like to see the survey posted in?
Well, I think if we're doing ELAC and DLAC and ELAC, Spanish should be one as well.
Okay. We will do that. Okay. And then we have on the timeline those dates. I actually communicated with President Kaminsky because we needed to have approval to post the position by the 18th of this week, by Monday, in order for it to be able to be posted on December 2nd. He authorized that, so we're going with that date. We're suggesting the second date be January 6th. Does that meet with your approval?
It does for me.
Yes. Yes.
Great. So,
Just for clarification, it will be the same ad each time? Right?
Yes.
Once you have the one, you just,
Yes.
thank you.
And those are, believe it or not, those are the first 2 dates that are available for AXA, just because of the holidays, that it's limited. And so then that would allow us to set that deadline or finalize the deadline for January 10th. Does that meet with your approval?
What day of the
Yes.
week is that?
That is Friday, I
Yeah,
believe.
okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, we'll move through on that. And we've already talked about the input sessions. Do you see any problems with, we're looking at maybe during the week of December 2nd, meeting with your education partners, probably later in the week, maybe like a Thursday or a Friday. Maybe the Friday for in person, but we could do Thursday and Friday, or that Thursday, the 5th, if there isn't anything in the district that really conflicts with that. And we can check that out and we can move it. Okay, great. And then if you will look at your calendars, as far as a date, we are proposing that we come back and we meet with you on February 4th to review all of the applications and our recommendations, and have you decide who it is that you would like to interview. Does that date work for you?
Are we talking about the 4th or the 22nd?
The 4th. At this time, it would be an evening meeting, just like if that's what you wish. I assume that would work out best for the majority of you. An evening meeting where we would review those. Before that, you will have already had an opportunity to look at every single application before we even come on the 4th. So you may have questions about specific candidates that you noted.
Fine by me.
Would we look at a 5 PM, a 6 PM? What would
You
we-
tell us what time you'd like for us to be here.
I would say 5.
Okay, at 5 PM. Okay, and then usually, not always, but usually we schedule interviews on a weekend. There's a couple of reasons for that, and usually it's a Saturday. One, it allows the candidate to get away from their district during a non-work day. It also allows them some time to travel if they have to travel from outside the area. It also would allow us to use district facilities where we can still keep the process confidential, because if we had it during the week, then everybody would be working and could see who's coming in and going out, and that would definitely discourage some candidates. But we also have done interviews on a weekday. It just depends on what works best for you.
All I can go by is my experience, and when we're interviewing Superintendent Larson Everson and that, there are a lot of people from out of town, a lot, out of county as well, so
Yes.
I think it has to be on a Saturday.
Does that Saturday, the 22nd, work for everyone?
I would love to be part of it, but I'm not in town that weekend. If,
That was a weekend I needed to check too.
Get my-
I was going to say I'd be great with February 29th, but does that happen next year?
No.
So
Is
I would propose a March 1st, but once again, it's not up to me.
Either works for me.
March 1st, is that a better date? Let me get on that. March.
I'm going to slowly say yes, Jackie.
Either one's fine for me.
Is March 1st work for you, as of right now? March 1st, please.
Okay, great. Yes, it's best to have all board members present and weighing in, because again, this is the most important decision that you will make as a board member.
Should we reserve another Saturday for second round or semifinal, whatever you want to call it?
Usually, we do it all in one day.
Okay.
We will get it all done on that same day. It also works for people that are traveling so that they don't have to make another trip out.
Okay. So we need to make that initial interview list, like you were saying, 5-ish.
Yes, yes, so that you're not interviewing all 25 candidates who
but-
apply.
Thank you.
Great. And then we would determine, once you select a candidate, because it depends on where they're coming from, where they're working, we can discuss at that time how you would like to, or whether you would like to do a validation visit or some form of validation for them. And then that would allow you to appoint on March 11th, which means we're really going to have to make sure that their contract is taken care of, and we have ways of helping to make sure that it's not anything out of the realm. They'll have your salary schedule. They'll have a copy of your current superintendent's contract, so that they can use that as a template. So that really keeps people from, or prevents them from asking for something that's really not going to happen. And so by the time we finish the interviews that day, you pretty much will review those contract parameters, what they're asking for, and we'll pretty much have an agreement that then you would take, your president would take to legal counsel just to review, make sure everything is good, and it should be, because it's their template that is being used. But just in case anything has changed from the time that the last contract was issued, and then we talk about how we will get the word out, basically a press release. We'll talk about a press release, et cetera, and work with you on that. So we have input sessions, and then that the date we've got the date already for when we meet with you to that February 4th, when we meet with you, and then March 1st for interviews, and then that will allow, if you wish to do the interviews here at the district office, you can talk about where you'd like to do that. Many boards do it there, not all, but many do. And you can consider a venue away from the district, and you have some locations here that I think venues that you could use, but it gives you some options, and we don't have to decide that today, just to think about. And then,
Actually, if you don't mind, real quick.
I don't mind at all, that's
Thank
why
you.
I'm here.
If we're having the interviews on March 1st, and if we want to do a validation process, we're talking the week of the 3rd through the 7th, and it's only a 5-day window. I'm just putting it out there, I'm not saying that 5 days can't happen. I just want people to know that, once again, that's
Yes.
something, if we do decide
To
to do it,
consider
I
that.
would like to be included. I can make that week work, and I'm just putting it out there. Thank you.
It kind of depends where the final candidate's from.
Yeah.
You know, 6 or 7 years ago, we, 3 of us drove down to Bellflower, which wasn't too bad, but maybe it's Sacramento, or who knows?
Right, and it
Would
could be
Would it
somewhere
be
else.
bad to do it in April then, at the April meeting? Is there,
Whatever your next regular board meeting would be, that wouldn't be bad. And what we might say is, on here, we might say March 11th or April, and that just gives you the flexibility, because it does depend, it just gives you a little bit more time if you need it.
Or we could have 2 regularly scheduled board meetings in March. We haven't done the calendar yet.
Okay. That's another option. They just have to be regularly scheduled board meetings.
So if we wanted the 18th or even the 25th of March, that's something we needed to vote on at the next meeting.
And
Something to
President Kaminsky, I
consider.
think we have to review the board policy on the meeting dates because I know it calls out the second Tuesday of the month and there's exceptions in there. So I think before that is added to the calendar, we just need to make sure that it would be in alignment with the board policy.
Sure.
So as far as this paperwork, could we put March 11 or April, whatever the date is? I don't know. What's the date in April?
I was looking, but I couldn't.
What is your April?
Do we even have one?
Board, regular
Oh, I've
board
got
meeting?
April 8th, yeah. So
April
we'll put
8th, okay.
March 11th, April 8th. And then we'll figure it out.
Okay,
within
we'll
the
just
next
put
few
an
weeks.
or. And that will be fine for candidates, I mean,
I think so.
okay. And then we have on our timeline that the new superintendent would start July 1st or sooner. Is that still your target?
Yes.
Okay. And then, again, depending on who that finalist is, it may be July 1st because they have a contract that they would like
Right.
to fulfill, or it may be sooner because it's a promotion for them. Great. Let's see. Okay. I've talked about candidate recruitment already, and the fact that we'll have each of those people that are interviewing fill out a contract parameters, which says, this is the salary that I'm requesting, these are the number of work days, these are the benefits. But again, we give them a copy of your last superintendent contract for them to use as a guideline. We also review it, and there have been times that we've said to some candidates, if there's a salary range and they've exceeded the salary range, or they're asking for something that we really don't think is going to happen, we'll tell them that before they even interview. We'll say, it's not really likely that that's going to happen, so you need to be aware of that, and you may want to change that before you even get to the interview. And then, any other questions regarding the process so far? Okay. Then we'll get to the meat of it, and I'm going to take just a moment to grab my laptop because I'm going to type your responses. You can see and if we can just, oops, I'm sorry, if we can just refer to this at the bottom, and that way everyone can see what the 3 questions are that we're going to be asking the board at the very bottom of that. Thank you. And so that's what I will be asking you, and then I will be typing your responses. And again, those are the exact same questions that I will be, or information that I will be seeking from each of those groups that you indicated that you wanted us to meet with. So if you'll just give me a moment, and you can take a breath. Oops. Good. There we go.
I have a question whenever you're ready.
Yes, I can talk and look at the same time.
So we're providing input now, but part of the conversation we talked about is the groups that are going to be giving input also. So is tonight kind of our final opportunity for this, or how do we go about it after tonight to provide input?
you can always reach out to myself or Juan, and we can add that input to the input that you give tonight. And we've done that also with, for example, I'm in a district that I worked with. We were meeting with cabinet members. One of the cabinet members was out, and so then I met with her separately at another time, and I just added her input to the input that was given at that time.
Okay.
So this is, again, we want the information, so we don't want to exclude any information that would be useful to the search.
Okay, thank you.
So let me just get on my link here. It just needs to recognize me. Okay. So I am going to give you a sentence starter, which is really, as you look at the questions, I'd like for you to think about what qualities, characteristics, experiences you would like for this new superintendent to have. And again, we're talking about ideals, but if we don't have ideals, then you don't even get close to it. So what is it that you would like? And the sentence starter is, I desire a superintendent who, and then you can fill that in, and I will type as you speak. Please.
You ready to go? What I'd like to start with is, I desire a superintendent who recognizes the value of our human capital, our staff.
Okay.
Say, teaching experience, administrative experience, and if possible, county office experience. And
Okay.
I desire a superintendent who follows up with any conversations or commitments that they make or engagements that they attended, and just continued community support and involvement.
Okay.
and I would desire a superintendent that is out in the community, available in different venues.
Okay.
A people person?
I think I would ask for a superintendent that was a team builder.
A team builder.
Mm-hmm. Team builder. What else would you like?
I'm going to, these are all kind of, to be honest, these are all just buzzwords that are feel-good words that anybody can put on their resumes. So I'm going to opt to lay this out via email, kind of put it on in writing.
Okay.
It'll be a little easier for me to hone in on details as opposed to just kind of feel-good resume builder words that we all use when we build our resumes that, you know, I'm a team player, and they're all qualities. I don't, not downplaying those, but I've seen enough resumes in my life to go, okay, we can all write those things down and Google those. So I'll follow up with you and your team with an email. And
Okay, wonderful.
I'll copy
And we'll
the-
and we'll add that, and you will all see it.
Yeah.
You will all see it.
Okay, thank you.
But happy to do that.
If I could add, I would wish the district's superintendent would be a straight shooter.
I don't know how to put it in there, but maybe provide examples of the qualities that we have desired.
Okay. And keep in mind that all of this information will formulate not only, and I did mention this earlier, but not only the position description, but we will also use this to suggest some interview questions, because how do you get, for example, I'll just use Team Builder that was mentioned. How do we know that they are team builders? And so how do we ask questions of them that are team builders? And for us also, as we're talking to them, we're talking to their references, those are some of the things that we can be asking for, is, tell us how they put together a team, or give us an example, et cetera. So we'll be able to get at it from different ways, but also as part of the interview questions.
Strong communication skills.
Yes. Anything else? And we can go to the next section, always knowing that as we're talking about that next section, about what you believe the district's strengths are, if you think of something that you say, oh, I want to add this to the what we desire in a superintendent, just let me know. I'll hop up there and we do the same with the groups, because sometimes we're talking about something, we go, oh, that reminds me that we need somebody who can do X, Y, Z, and so we'll add that on there.
I already thought of one more. A
Excellent.
strong instructional leader.
Great. Thank you. So as we're meeting with candidates and talking to them, what is it that we can tell them? These are the strengths of the district. This is what makes Tehachapi Unified a great place, or a great district. What would you say are the strengths of the district?
Generally speaking, our students are extremely polite, respectful, and it's why many teachers come here from Bakersfield, Lancaster, Palmdale.
I've got our staff and our community.
Okay. What else would you, if you were talking to when you go to CSBA and you're talking to a board member from another district, what would you brag about?
That we actually keep our students from K to 12. So we are able to take them from their first time into a classroom until they graduate high school.
Yes, and just to tag on to that, excellent high school graduation rate.
Okay. Any other strengths that you would like people outside of this area to know?
Might say that the district is economically stable, and we have a good record there.
That actually is one of the most attractive. I'll tell you, the most attractive is a stable board. That's what candidates, that's the first question that they ask about the board. And then the second is really the stability, the economic stability. So that's a great aspect to mention.
I think we have a positive culture here that we can be proud of.
So what are the challenges for the district?
So I'm going to start. The first one, and should be on everybody's mind, is state finances. And then I've got population growth and/or decline.
Okay.
Our attendance isn't exactly where we want it. It's still not there. It's improved since COVID, but it feels like we're just treading water right now. And that's despite many efforts and ingenious programs that people have set up.
And it is.
And I
very
know
much a-
it's everywhere, but
Yes. Bless you, any other challenges?
math scores. It's like with the attendance, despite efforts, something's not.
Okay. Anything else in any of the three areas? Okay, and again, if you think of something else, you can call or email or text us. You have our information, and we will simply add it. Juan and I share this document, and so we will add that to it. And on this same document is where we will include your partner's input. Great. Any questions at all? I'm going to go ahead and close this down. And I think, and then I think I will only need about 5 minutes with you or less in closed session. Yes.
Actually, I do have one more thing, because it was
Yes.
what is important for to know about our community. And I know Trustee Napier brought this up earlier, is our diversity within our small communities. You mentioned the CSDs earlier, and Tehachapi City is different than Santa Canyon, which is different than Golden Hills, Bear Valley, Stallion. So just, well, it's not necessarily a huge race diversity, it is a community
I'm going to
diversity.
write it down. Community diversity.
And the district is very spread out. That's a major challenge.
Okay. Okay, I think we can go into closed, and as I said, I will only need about 5 minutes with you.
Okay, before we, as we go into closed session, we do have a public comment
Please.
from Jessica Smith. And it's on the, her comment is on the superintendent search, which is on the board agenda.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Smith. I'm a parent, a pastor, a teacher, a union officer, a dedicated member of various committees and leadership teams in our district. And I'm here tonight as a passionate advocate for our schools, our students, and our community. As a resident of Tehachapi, I'm one of the constituents who entrusted you with your elected positions. You were chosen by us to represent us. You were chosen of the people, by the people, and for the people. I ask you to keep that responsibility in the forefront of your mind as you fulfill the duties as a member of the school board. The people of Tehachapi care deeply about our town, and the reason you don't see droves of community members here at every meeting is because we trust you. We trust you to keep our best interests, and we trust you to keep our voice. With that said, I encourage each of you to bring your unique perspectives and expertise to your decision-making process. Whether your background is as a parent, a financial professional, a business owner, or another field, your expertise is valuable. However, if you lack the lived experience of being a working member in the educational system, you may not fully grasp the complexities we face at every school day. In such cases where there is no counsel, the people fail. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. I urge you to seek input from those within the system, those who have firsthand knowledge, insight, and expertise. Seek wise counsel from your constituents who voted for you to represent their voice and my voice. Regarding the interim superintendent, I ask you take your time with this decision. This individual will steer the district during a critical period. They will be responsible for maintaining the positive momentum we've seen in student achievement, as well as the well-being of our staff. This is not a choice to take lightly or hastily. The way of the fool is right in his own eyes, but he who heeds counsel is wise. Similarly, the hiring of a permanent superintendent is a monumental decision. I appreciate your commitment to hiring this professional search firm to ensure this process is thorough and informed. This decision will shape the future of our district, and I trust that you will approach it with the care that it deserves. As a parent, I trust you to make decisions for my 3 children. As a pastor, I believe in making a positive difference in the lives of people today and for the future of our community. As a teacher, I trust you to make these decisions, to listen to educators, to make decisions that uphold the belief that all students can learn at high levels and respecting us as professionals. As a union officer, I trust you to select leaders who will foster a collaborative, solutions-oriented approach. Together, as elected officials, district leaders, educators, and community members, we have an opportunity to guard and strengthen the foundation of our school district. I trust you to make sound decisions based on this wise counsel and uphold the integrity, the finances, and the mission of this district. I trust you. Please don't give me a reason not to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And at 7:20, we'll go into closed. No. At 7:20, we will go into closed session.
Do you go somewhere else for closed session? You do, okay. Take it with you, or we're going to be done in about 5 minutes.
It is 8:06, and we're reconvening back to open session. And I neglected when we went into closed session to read the two items, so I'm going to kind of kill two birds with one stone here. Number one was public employee appointment position, Superintendent Government Code Section 54957, discussion. There's no report out on that. And then number two, public employee appointment title, interim superintendent. The only report out there is I wanted to publicly thank Vice President Kelly, Clerk Wood, and Trustee Napier for being on the subcommittee in the helping out with the interim superintendent search. Thought they did a great job, and we got a report out. And before we adjourn, being Superintendent Larson Everson's last board meeting, I just want to thank her for her years of service. I mean, this is her last board meeting, so.
Is it really my last board meeting? I think so.
Yeah, I'm.
Thank you.
I'll bet a large amount of money on that. And her diligence, and this is kind of a crazy week, crazier than most probably. But again, appreciate your help with all these.
My pleasure.
And
Thank
with
you.
that, we're adjourned.